Hi all. It's been a little bit since my last video. It is June 12th, 2022. Um, and the last time I posted was in the middle of March. And I, well, one, I haven't really posted a lot, partially because I haven't really kind of thought of what material to really put out. I'm still kind of a content loss. I do have an idea that I want to talk about um, later in this video, um, but I have a pretty big announcement, and I've shared this with some people on like my Facebook and also on Grommer, a few of the other message places. But currently, I reside in the Pacific Northwest, and in a few weeks here, I will be moving to the Midwest. Um, and I'm really excited about it. Um, I'm going to be embarking on a wonderful journey with both of my partners, and we're gonna it's gonna be great. And I mean, I'm just so excited for it. I visited, it was like 2 weeks ago. I visited the area where he lives at, and I fell in love with it. The people were so nice, um, and price of things was cheaper. And there's actually a lot of other gainers, encouragers that live in the area too that I can befriend. But I'm also, really looking to. I have spent a lot of time in the community, you know, really just kind of around my own people, which I've really loved, and I love all of you that watch my videos that are in the community and everything. But I'm also wanting to kind of branch out and explore and, meet people that are outside the community. And I think up here, where I'm living at now, it's kind of been a little bit of a hard thing for me to do. So as I embark on this new chapter of my life, I'm I'm challenging myself to meet other people that I might not have talked to before, because diversity is great. Meeting new people, hearing new experiences is great. And so I am really excited to go on this journey. Um, and best of all, things really worked out with my employer. Um, and yeah, it's just like a fairy tale in heaven how everything has worked out. My mom also lives back east, so I'm going to be able to see her more and my family more back east, and so it's just going to be really exciting. But yeah, I will be in the Midwest. I won't give specifics as to where I'm at because this is YouTube, and I don't want to say, oh, this is where I live now, but it's in the Midwest, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that's the first big update. So for you all, you're going to probably see a new background for where I record at. And you're going to be like, what's going on? And that's what's up. I'll probably do another update in like maybe late summer or something like that. Um, but basically, I just wanted to come on and talk about, in addition to the good news, I wanted to kind of talk to you a lot about, even though things are going pretty awesome in my life right now, the world is kind of falling apart. Well, let's not say kinda, it is. I mean, I'm struggling with gas like most people are. Up here in Oregon, it is um, $5.30 a gallon. Um, I know people that live down in the San Francisco Bay Area that are paying $6.50 a gallon. Um, so it's tough right now, and I think we're all, between that and rent increases, I think we're all kind of struggling with money right now. So I wanted to share um, just some things that have worked with me in the past, and this is really helpful for me too as I'm continuing to research this, because while I'm going to be in a living situation where we're going to have multiple incomes, which is great, the cost of living keeps going up and inflation keeps going up, and trying to deal with all that and gaining, or at least maintaining, or just living is really hard. Um, so I have been doing a lot of research into, well, I wouldn't say research. I would say probably more like just finding like information. I guess it is research. Finding information out on various meals to cook and like ways that in the past when I was going through college that I've been able to number one gain with kind of health in mind. Because I mean, inherently gaining weight, it's not the healthiest thing, as science has already established. But you can do things to help offset some of the problems. So there is that. But but so one of the things that I'm a big fan of is that noodles are your like number one friend, and noodles typically are very cheap. Um, One of the things that I've actually done is I'm a big fan of, and I learned this actually not from my mom or anybody, but I learned it from an old high school friend's mom, who they were like dirt poor all of the time. And one day I was sitting at her dining room table and we were chatting, and I was like, so, you guys, she was talking about expenses, and she's like, we don't really have a lot. I'm like, well, what do you use for dinner? And she's like, you want to see? And I'm like, sure. And so she, she took me into her kitchen and she just opens up her cabinet, and it's just like filled with like ramen noodle things. And I'm like, what are you doing with these? And she's like, well, I was like, do you eat a lot of ramen soup? I was like, that's got to get old after a while. And she's like, no. She's like, a lot of people don't realize it, but you can actually use ramen noodles for all kinds of stuff. And so she was like showing me like how she uses it for like cheese noodles, and she used it for casseroles, like she'd make the noodles and then kind of like layer it with like things that's already been cooked, and kind of like uses it as like a pasta kind of mixture. And so there was just all these things that she was using it for that I never even thought of. So one of the things that she had taught me was that, for example, cheese noodles was this thing that I just thought it was gross, and I tried it and I was super amazed. All it is you take the packet of like ramen block and you like just boil it, and you take it out and you strain it, and then you just add like cheese whiz and like regular cheese to it. You stir it up, and it's like cheesy noodles. And then you can add like other spices to it, like a little bit of garlic salt. But that was a main staple of mine in college when I worked at the grocery store, and I was paying like $600 a month in rent on a like 20-hour week job. It was really there were some real tough times, and we had to really kind of stitch by. And one of that was doing the ramen noodles thing, and so that's one thing you can do. I think a bulk pack of I would only get the cheap ones for that. Like, you don't have to, get a bunch of different things. Just get that. You can also add egg to it, so you can do like an egg foo young kind of thing, where you have your noodles, then you add egg, and you kind of do that. There's an excellent video, and I'll post it in the comments, from Emmy Made, who, if you haven't caught any of her stuff on YouTube, she's like one of my favorite cooking people on YouTube. She's always got this like bubbly, upbeat personality. I love her. And so I've watched a lot of her stuff, and I've actually learned quite a few things. Me and my friends up here have, and one of the things that she talks about is kind of this whole poverty cooking kind of stuff, where she's looking at like canned food that would be like canned burger, which that I'm not going to go there, but one of the things that she had talked about was using ramen noodles and like jazzing it up. So, yes, ramen noodles are your friend. The other thing that you can use, if you haven't, and I know this seems counterindicative to gaining, but if you, and just remember, the way to gain, there's no real easy way around it. More calories in than you expend versus more calories out. It's really what it comes down to. Also, having more carbs will help you with weight retention, and not necessarily muscle retention. But it really does come down to those calories, And the reason why more higher carb foods have get you fat was because they typically have higher calories. It's hard to find a food that has lower carb and has lower calories, unless you do something pure protein based, which a lot of people have been able to do. In one of my prior videos, I do talk a little bit about visceral versus subcutaneous fat and how doing that more protein based diet will help with the subcutaneous fat development, which is technically a little bit healthier for you on the metabolic side, but you're still going to struggle a little bit with health issues on the heart related pieces than visceral fat, which is diabetes. So again, it's really hard to really achieve that balance, but some people have, and you just have to do what works for you, and there's no one magical way about it. So yeah, but I talk about that in my other videos. But yeah, so ramen noodles is one way that you can do it. Um, Another way that I was going into before was about using veggie meat, and what I mean by that is that I'm a big fan of tacos. Like, I literally could have taco salad every day for a week. Like, I literally could have taco salad spaghetti, pizza, Chinese, taco salad. I could literally repeat that for the rest of my life, and I would be like the happiest person in the world because there's something about taco salad that I just love. But the problem is that ground meat now, because of all of the fuel issues, is just out of control. It used to be, at least up here, it used to be like $7 to $8 for 2 pounds of ground meat. Well, now it is up to, I think, $11 for the ground meat that I get, and so it's getting expensive. But the one thing that really hasn't gone up in cost is this veggie meat, and you can find it. It goes under, I think, like one of the names for it. It's called BE apostrophe F instead of beef. It's Beth or something. It's weird, but it's by this company called Gardein, and they sell them in these like little bags of like they're like 16-ounce bags, so you get a pound, and it's only like 350 for a pound. And when you look at that and you take 2 pounds, you're paying $7 for 2 pounds versus $11 for ground beef, and they have just as much. They have less fat content, which is okay, but they do have calories in them, and you can use that. You can jazz it up by putting sour cream and lots of cheese on there, and you can even get some of that like pre-done nacho cheese, like the Velveeta, like Tostino stuff, the plastic cheese, and warm it up and have that in there too. So there's lots of variants you can do with it, but that is one way to save money that I found useful in the past. The other thing is trying to buy things in bulk if you can. Um, I think we're kind of coming into the age where inflation is probably always going to rise. And so if you buy something in bulk now, you're going to prevent yourself from later on having that rise in inflation. And I would probably not bank on inflation going down on something, at least from what I've read and I've heard for the near future. If you're able to, if you got a kind friend that will let you borrow their Costco card, or a kind family member, that's always a really great thing because then you can get things in bulk and have them last a while. That's probably something, as we transition into a 3-person household and we're eating for 6, and I'm going to be like the head chef. I've taken on that responsibility, which is why I've been doing all this research. I've been assigned that. So yeah, it's gonna be up to me to really start thinking about the Costco stuff and everything. And so if you have a big family and you have access to that Costco card, that can be really helpful. You're going to be paying a lot more up front, but if there's something that you love and you want to, always have it, that's always an option. So yeah, definitely Costco. So just kind of a recap: ramen noodles, veggie beef, buying things in bulk, and then the one final thing I want to leave is healthy stuff. I know eating healthy can be a challenge in these times, especially with supply chain shortages, or if you're trying to gain or maintain and it doesn't have great calorie content. What I would honestly do is if you have access to a local farmer's market, I would honestly advise going there. I find that a lot of their stuff is a little bit cheaper than like going to Aldi's or Walmart. Um, so that's always an option. The other thing you can do is start a little, if you're able to, start a little garden. If you have access to a community garden at your apartment complex, if you live in an apartment, those are always great. I had a neighbor of mine that used to have cucumbers, and she used to just be like, "Yeah, if they're growing back there, just help yourself," you know. And so, if you're able to get a nice mixture of things growing that you enjoy vegetable wise, those are some great healthy foods that you can incorporate into your gaining plan. The other thing is start one of your own if they're not available. You know, there's a lot of great, if you're living in an apartment and you're like me currently and you're on the third floor, you can get container potting plants and you can have vegetables in there and you can grow from containers. So there's lots of different options that you could do. And a lot of them your landlord doesn't even need to know about. Like, but if you have a house and you have a yard, then you have a really great opportunity to start a garden, and it does require a lot of work up front. But once things start growing, then you have the ability to, go out there and get those. But yeah, and then yeah, so those are the, four main things I wanted to really go over. Kind of a bonus one is, oh, this is like the most important one, right? Is what are you going to do for the typical gainer staples? And what I mean by that are burgers, pizza, fries, pasta, fattening food, all of the things that people typically go to gain. So the good news is a lot of that stuff, while it is unhealthy, um, you can get very cheaply. And it probably will remain that way for a little bit of time when you compare to everything else. So, for example, buying a box of cookies at Walmart, you're probably gonna be paying like $2.50 or $3 for that, versus buying fruit. Is it as healthy? No, it is not healthy. But a lot of that stuff will remain on the cheap because it's easier to produce and corn syrup makes you fat. So, there's that. Um, but, when it comes to things like spaghetti and stuff like that, buy in bulk. Spaghetti does not go bad. Like, you can have spaghetti forever. As long as it's in a box. I've actually used to do that when I was in college. In addition to the ramen noodle thing, I would go out once a month and I would just stock up on a bunch of different starches and carbs, and I would just leave it in my pantry. And whenever I was hungry and I wanted to keep on my gaining plan, I would just grab some cheese and I would put some noodles in, or I'd have some pasta. I'd also used to get like the pre-done, and this probably would go up, so you probably would want to look into veggie burgers, but I used to get like the pre-done patties, like the burger patties. They're like hockey pucks, and I used to just have them in my freezer. And so when I was hungry, and I wanted to push myself, I would just throw into hamburger patties into the skillet, and then I do the cheesy noodle thing, and that was like just a quick and easy, 1,000 calories or whatever. So there are a lot of little things that you can do. The one thing that I would discourage is, and this is, not the best thing, people won't like this advice, is try to avoid eating out. Because as the cost of food increases, the restaurants that have to cook the food, they need to increase their costs to compensate. And in addition, they need to increase their staff's wages to compensate for the inflation that we're having. So um, try to limit down if you're trying to save money to really cooking at home and then eating out like once a week if you're able to, or every other week. Um, but, you know, that's my advice. Do I necessarily always follow that? No, I do not. But that's because I have the money right now, and I go to Panda Express. Sometimes 2 times a week, or I go to Chipotle and then Panda Express 2 times a week. But I have been really forcing myself to really think, especially as I'm doing this move, to kind of try to be a little bit more budget conscious. But yeah, and then in regards to desserts and stuff like that, you can buy puddings. They're very cheap to make, they're very easy. You just need a little bit of cream and a little bit of milk, and you have a tasty, quick, 600-calorie snack that you can have at night. Crumble up some cookies in there to boost the calorie content. You can buy some, weight gain powder and kind of mixing it into things. And then one final thing I want to end on regarding this is I know that everyone loves Boost. It's kind of like the gainer status symbol is Boost, which is fine. I mean, if you're into that, great. But I'm here to tell you, with the inflation stuff, there are better and cheaper ways to gain than Boost and McDonald's. It's just strategizing that, because there's going to come a time where those costs are going to go up, and you're going to have to be like, oh crap, I'm going to have to, compensate by doing something different. And I'm here to tell you that when that oh shit moment happens, there's something you can do to cover things. So, yeah, so just know that. And if you have any more like questions or anything regarding recipes that you'd like, or things that you'd like to know, please post them in the comments, or things that you want to hear about relating to cooking, post them in the comments. I'm happy to do that. Unfortunately, in my new place, I'm probably still not going to have a super great setup to do cooking videos, which is, just how it is. It's hard to do that unless you have a giant open island, and I'm not going to have access to that. So I won't have like a Jenna Marbles kitchen. But it's still a nice kitchen. It's pretty nice. It's just there's not a center island for me to do that. But it's still a beautiful kitchen. And it's a really pretty house I'm going to be in. And I'm just so excited for this. It's a whole new adventure for me, a whole new chapter in my life that I'm with the two people that I love, and I've met my soulmate. And I love him so incredibly much. Like, I'm just so fucking happy. Sorry, I'm just so happy in my life right now. And I know people are struggling, and I don't want to brag and everything, but I just want to let you all know that things are working out pretty good for me right now. And and I just want to say to all of you, as always, thank you for your support, and watching my videos. It means a lot. And yeah, I hope you all are doing well, all staying safe with COVID. And until next time we meet again, I will try to come up with more content. So thank you again. And still currently around 480. I did lose a little bit because of the trip, but hopefully once I get established again, I'll be able to gain, working, on computers all day. So yes, there you go. All right, you all take care. Bye.